My name is Dolores, but I go by Dee Neerman. And I've been around the loom all my life, all my 86 years, except 1 year in the 60s. I lived in California for 10 months. And that's the only time I guess there wasn't a loom in my house or near it. But so it's exciting to me. It helps sometimes. I can go to the basement and just sit there and think of happy things, or I think my own thoughts. I've got an old radio and an old TV down there, but I don't ever play them because I have my own thoughts of maybe childhood days or growing up or when things were different and just comparing them. But I just kind of sit down there all by myself in the quiet. That's my quiet time. It's about 100 and close to 160 years old, the one I'm weaving on. Now, the first one I had belonged on my dad's side. My niece Margaret Lucky Snyder uses that. And I got the one on my mom's side was then her grandma or my great-grandmother's was built for her. And she was just 13 years old. And so I wonder nowadays, there's a few maybe appreciate a loom at 13 years old. But probably they'd rather have a computer or cell phone or something. But that's just how the times have changed. I don't know when I started weaving, but I know when I got involved in the weaving process, I was probably around 7, and I could wind the shuttles because my legs were too short to sit on a chair. We didn't have a bench on that loom like I have on mine here. So I would get the job winding the shuttle, putting the material on there, or maybe when they brought their balls, sort them into colors, But we always had a job, to help with the weaving, and I enjoyed it. That's why I'm still doing it today. I was born in Bartholomew County. And then I lived in a log home, was born and raised in a log home. It was my mother and my father and my sister and I lived with my grandparents on my dad's side. And then my dad got killed in 1938, and then my mother was there with just us 2 girls, and we just all lived in that log cabin. When my dad and then my uncle got killed, they were taking a load of cattle to Indianapolis, and a bus loaded of like an orchestra or something. There was a young boy driving, and he didn't make the curve. So of course, who knows really what happened? But I mean, then they killed him, knocked the whole frame, bed off the truck, and that, After my dad got killed, my mom and her sister-in-law, they had a sorghum mill also, not too far from where we lived. And they would cook sorghum for people, that they would bring their cane and bring it over there. And one time Mother said that somebody didn't have money to pay for cooking their sorghum, so they traded some chairs. Mother got the chairs for the sorghum, so it was kind of like if you didn't have the money, they would do some trading. And then my mother wove rugs. She would weave for a woolen mill in Seymour. And she'd done that because somebody had to pay the bills since my dad was gone. We lived with my grandparents, but like I say, we worked together. And that's how she would pay the bills to support us. The old loom was in the summer kitchen which was detached from the house. And in the winter then, it was cold, there was no heat in there, we would dismantle the loom and take it into the log cabin in that living room, which you weren't in there very often, and we'd nail it to the floor so that Mother could weave and, like I said, pay the bills. And then when spring came, we would take it apart again and take it back to the summer kitchen. And you know, that was her way. She made a living, but you'd really have to work hard or charge a lot more nowadays. I wish I really knew what she charged, but probably just 50, 75 cents a yard would be my guess back in them days. People said, how did you do that? Well, maybe we didn't know any better, but that's all we had. I mean, we had to do with what you had. We just done everything we needed together, made the garden, we butchered, we just worked together as a group. We raised some baby calves, we milked by hand. We had our milk bucket and a stool, and we would milk. My mother, she would get up in the morning and start the fire in the kitchen. She'd have it warm when we'd get up of a morning. We slept upstairs, there wasn't any heat up there at all, which nowadays is probably unknown to a lot of people because we got our houses all insulated better. We didn't have any insulation, just the logs. My mother, I never did hear her complain. You know, I mean, she had a great faith and she knew she had to do it. I mean, but she had help with my grandma. And of course, when my sister and I got older, we'd help. But I never heard my mother complain, like, why me? And also my aunt, I didn't. And she had 4 children to raise, and neither one of them ever remarried.
I'm Margaret Lucky Snyder. I am Dee Neerman's niece. I still live on the same family farm where Dee and my mom, Virginia, grew up.
Weaving's been in my life all my life. My grandmother, since her husband died early, my mom was only 9, so she has always lived with us, or we've always lived with her. So she was the weaver that I'm aware of.
The loom that I weave on is the original loom that was here at the homestead.
It was in the log house, and when we moved over here, it stayed in the log house, and that's where I remember weaving for the first time. And it's a similar story to my aunt's. You know, your legs aren't long enough to do the weaving, so you did the other things. You wound the shuttles, or you put the warp on the warping bars if you were tall enough to reach to the top. So he did that first. I can't say what age that was, but it was pretty young. It's just always been a part of my family, my life, really. My favorite part of weaving, I think, is the finished product. When I've taken something that looks like scraps laying on the floor, or that you know is now being used for the second time, for instance, the blue jean rugs, or wool that we get is basically throwaway selvages that would just be waste products for them. So the finished product of taking something that looks like rags on the floor and make it into a rug that's usable, that somebody enjoys, that really wants in their home, that I think is the highlight of my weaving. And I also enjoy going to the craft shows and meeting different people, and even if it's not people buying, it's people there selling something and seeing what they're selling, and so that's kind of part of a community that's kind of nice to stay involved with. That's it. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
I'll carry them out and you can stack them.
when we go to craft shows, you meet a lot of different people. You get opportunity to see different areas of the country and, different artisans that are there. When I was starting to weave, the church group would have people donate them rags, and then they would cut them up and have me weave them for them to make some money for church projects. So, it's just always been a part of this community, regardless of if it was my grandmother weaving or my great aunt that was weaving.
That may not be in my eyes yet. That's what Roger and I said when we went to Montgomery.
Well, we do Fort Bologna in October every year, and I do Milan. We did do one up around Indianapolis a couple of years ago. I forgot the name of where we went, but we just done that one time. We did okay, but it depends on, of course, I do other things too, how much you get done. You can't do a lot of shows because Margaret goes with me, and she does a few, but she has a full-time job, even though she works at home. So I've always done these two for years and years, probably 25 years or so.
Hey, Jan, how are you? Pretty good. Good. We just said you hadn't got here yet. Oh, you just got here. Good. Do you need help unloading?
Oh, Julie brought that bill out there. No.
Okay.
They got a horse thing.
1-7.
I have woven for people have put them on their horses for blankets under the saddle. I wove them for children to take their nap in kindergarten, a mat. I wove them for a yoga mat, a lady, not too many years ago for yoga. Decoration, a lot of it is nowadays. Where we really used it for a purpose. They call that a purpose nowadays, and it is, but for a different purpose. I mean, I never did yoga. Might not get up off of the mat at my age, but it's just, I think that's kind of interesting. It's not just for your feet, It's changed a lot.
I learned to warp by watching my mom.
She would warp. We had the warping bars in the old summer kitchen on the south wall, I remember. And she would warp, but we would just more or less watch her, because even after we got older, we said, we ought to write it down, which we haven't yet, how you do it. It's just passed from one generation to the other. I can hear when she run 10 spools, which I do, and if I think about it, I can just hear them running when she would go back and forth just like a roar till she got to the other end and back to the other. I go back out there yet. Of course, the summer kitchen's gone, but I can just almost hear that. There's the atmosphere that, I guess, of being home. But it takes about 4 hours to get it on the warping beam. It takes about 2 hours, and then take it to the break and braid that off. And my husband will come down there and hold that till I get it braided off of there, because if I'm on this end, he'll hold the other end. Because if you don't, it may a whole bunch come off, and then you do have a mess, like 60 yards of warp right there. And then take it over to the loom. Takes about a half an hour to put it on there, and then it takes me another hour to tie the old and the new warp together. So you got roughly 4 hours, 3.5 good, before you're ready to go, and then get your tension set. So most people don't stick around that long, It takes one to hold it, like you're driving a team with those 2 braids, and one turns it, and usually I guide it onto the warp beam back there. And so it takes 3. Glenn and I have done it, but it's a job for 2 to do all that, but 3 works fine. Great. just kind of on and on and on, repetitious. What I call is good rug, and I'm not offensive to nobody. I mean, there's all kind of rugs, but it's beat tight together, and I use through each heddle double strings, double sleigh. My mom always called it double sleigh, two through there. And when you beat it with my big barn loom, the big beams, that really puts it tight in there. And I mean, a lot of looms, bigger ones will weave a rug, but you don't have that beater bar and that's heavy, and like the ones that, like I have in the old handmade looms. And I consider that best because when you beat them together, you can't see through there or stick your finger through there hardly between each shot through there. In fact, some of the brown ones I have in here, I bought them at an auction. This one and that one and that one. I bought them at an auction that I wove for my cousin's wife probably 20 years ago, and I probably had them in 10 years because when they passed away, I bought them back. Cotton soaks up everything. Now, wool kind of sheds dirt. You can check a lot of that off. I always say if you look at the sheep, he might be dirty on top, but if you part that wool and look down there, it's white. So I like the wool to weave. That's my choice. Material comes from Pendleton Woolen Mills in Portland, Oregon. They're sending me if they weave suits or something, skirts or whatever, and then they cut them edges off and that falls to box, and that's what I get. It's already maybe an inch or wide or so, and it's already, all I have to do is wind it, or you don't even have to, you can just leave it in the sack, but I usually wind it and put it on shelves. I like to choose the colors. Now, I have no choice when I call to order it. It's whatever. They're not weaving for me to do rugs. They're weaving for either blankets or clothing, and you have to take what they send you. When I get the box of material, see what color it is, and then put it together. Maybe if you get 2 or 3 colors, you can make stripes or something, or you can just make a rug out of one color, but it's fun sometime to make it striped, and I don't sketch it what it's going to be. I just put it as it comes, just random, and it turns out pretty good. So usually pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied with them, but I enjoy that, seeing. And then you've made something usable.
Some of the qualities for a good weaver, I believe, is detail. You probably need to have a little bit of an artistic eye, and I'm going to say a little bit because I wouldn't say for me personally that, or being able to put colors together is a high point. I can do it, but I know of a lot of more people that are better at putting colors together, matching, and seeing what goes together sooner than I do. So I don't think that's essential, but obviously you have to know a little bit about color and what looks good together. With us both weaving, I think she's helped me appreciate a little bit more of a color palette. Sometimes she'll look at a rug and just be so excited about weaving that one when she gets the material, and I'm looking at the same rug thinking, yeah, that's probably not the first one I would have pulled off the shelf, but she's always right. It makes a beautiful rug when she puts it together.
I'm I guess you're saying, a sentimental person, and to realize that clear back 3 generations, they done this for some of them to really help support their families, and then that it's just like I say, and I'm very sentimental about that, to think that it's still going on, and they would be very pleased to know like that same old looms are going. I hope to pass it on to someone. It won't be I have no children, and I have just 2 nieces, and they have no children. So therefore, it wouldn't be no like direct blood relatives down, but I would hope that somebody keeps it up somewhere. And if not, well, then that's the end of an era.
I'm not sure if life is helping me with my weaving or if weaving's helping me with my life. It's still detail, it's still honesty. You know, you don't want to make a rug that you know there's something wrong with it and then just pass it off. You know, that's the way you should live your life, is the way you should, you know, make your rugs.
It's still important to me to weave as long as I can, because through life you have to do something. You have to do a lot of things you don't want to do. And that's one thing, it's kind of relaxing for me, it really is. I like to learn how things are done or made or something like that. Of course, we grew up quilting and tatting. I can do a little quilting, tatting, crocheting, little needle. I've tried a lot of things, spinning, but I still always go back to the weaving because I like that. It reminds me of Mom. Yeah.